Hi guys, I'm Shmi, hello and welcome back to the channel where you join me for something hot off the press, a first look at the brand new Ferrari VGT9. This is Ferrari's Vision Gran Turismo car, the car for the game. Gran Turismo are celebrating their 25th anniversary and Ferrari have also turned 75, celebrating with the launch together of their VGT9 hypercar. This is a car for the game, but follows on from many manufacturers recently and perhaps gives us an insight into their next road-going hypercar as well, the successor to the LaFerrari, if you will. It borrows the power plant from the likes of the 296, GTB, GTS and GT3 and the 499P recently introduced Le Mans hypercar, but there's so much more to it. A single seat, canopy over the top, lots to take in. So let's explore what we know then about the VGT9, fresh off the press, having only just been revealed at the Gran Turismo World Finals in the south of France. Let's do this, the Ferrari Vision Gran Turismo. This is the moment that Ferrari fans and Gran Turismo gamers alike have been waiting for, a collaboration between these two huge brands, and what an anniversary to do it. 25 years of the Gran Turismo game. I remember the first one launching 2.5 decades ago and I was only 10 years old at the time. Hard to believe how far it's gone since. And of course for Ferrari, with 75 years of exceptional history, so much success in motorsports and so many amazing cars as well. Hence now working together, bringing VGT9 to the game and to reality as well, to a car that will be on display at the museum over the coming months. Now we've seen plenty of crossovers between Gran Turismo and the supercar and automotive manufacturers. I remember over a decade ago filming the Citroën, but also the Bugatti Vision GT and plenty of others that have been launched. It's an opportunity for the brands to come through to the game, but also to give us an insight into what they might be working on next. Now we recently saw Ferrari introducing the 499P, their car to return to the 24 Hours of Le Mans top class, the hypercar category as it's now called, a car borrowing the engine from the 296, GTB, GTS and GT3, and in fact an engine that links through to this new car as well, the VGT9. The name of course represents Vision Gran Turismo, VGT. The 9 actually comes from Ferrari's success at the 24 Hours of Le Mans in some of their earlier decades. Having started in 1947 with their first race car, the 125S, in the years from 1949 to 1965, they were victorious at the top step of the Le Mans podium 9 times, hence the link to the name of the new car, and just look at it. Let's have a run through of everything that we know so far, from all of the facts and figures, things like the power and weight numbers, and even a hypothetical lap time at Fiorano. That's Ferrari's test track in Maranello, Italy, and how it stacks up against the likes of the LaFerrari and the SF90. But this is not only an opportunity for gamers across the world to drive in a futuristic Ferrari model, but also for Ferrari to tease us a little bit about what's coming next. And what I mean by that is that I think we all know a successor to the LaFerrari is in the works. In fact, it's due in only 2 or 3 years, codenamed F250, and I think the Vision GT is giving us some clues, which I'd like to dive into in just a moment, but a successor to that legendary lineage from the 288 GTO through the F40, F50, Enzo, LaFerrari, and on to the next generation. But let's start with this car and what we're looking at. What a thing, Ferrari's Vision Gran Turismo, a car that is all about the aero, still though quite realistic in its concept, in its idea. The central seating position beneath the fighter jet style canopy, the cockpit if you will, the flat upper surface to the bodywork with the smooth curves over the arches for each of the wheels, but all of the negative space below, all of the openings for the aero, using learnings from different motorsport competitions, Formula 1 for example, everything that Ferrari takes part in and has seen great success over the years. A car that has some connections to the 499P, the distinctive 75-year anniversary badging and branding as you can see over it as well, but also perhaps giving us more clues about what is next. And in fact, I want to give you some of the numbers because the numbers are simply breathtaking. Total power output 1,356 horsepower. That's 1 megawatt of power. That comes with 1,030 horsepower purely from the combustion engine, the 3-litre twin-turbocharged V6 that's found in the 296 GTB and GTS, the Spider that I've ordered, plus also the 296 GT3 race car, and even the new 499P as well. That's a significant amount of power, but then combine it yet further with 3 additional electric motors, adding another 326 horsepower, and you reach that total of 1,356. This car, however, only weighs, get this, dry weight of 1,250 kilos. More than 1 to 1, and that means acceleration times 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, 62 miles an hour, in under 2 seconds. 0 to 200 kilometers an hour, that's 124 miles per hour, in under 5 seconds. That is seriously quick, and on to a limited top speed of 350 kilometers an hour, 217 miles per hour. But what's perhaps even more fascinating is when it comes to the times Fiorano. The LaFerrari reached 1 minute 19.7. The 812 Competizione recently has done 1 minute 20. The SF90 achieved a faster time of 1 minute and 19 seconds, but the Vision GT, 1 minute 10 seconds. Seriously quick, knocking an eighth off the time of the SF90 Stradale, which is a very, very, very fast machine. Now, you only have to look at this to know that it's going to be a quick thing. In fact, there are some incredible design details, but still distinctly Ferrari. And by that, I don't only mean the Ferrari Scuderia shields that you see painted onto the bodywork, but even this new horizontal style rear tail light, also found on the front headlights. But the rear actually reminds me quite a lot of the new Icona series Daytona, the Daytona SP3, with those horizontal lines paying tribute to some of Ferrari's cars from their history. But through the back, you can actually see everything going on within. And that's all, of course, sitting beneath this spoiler mounted up out of the top of the rear deck to help with the downforce, to give it as much downforce as possible to ultimately help it achieve the fastest possible lap times. As we head towards the interior, the squared off steering wheel with the screen in the center, the light bar that runs across the dashboard, the transparent materials that you spot everywhere, lightweight materials, the clear seating position of the heels above the hips, very much race car. It's of course created for the racing game, but it is a car being built, being made into a real thing that actually exists, and these are the photos of that very machine. The canopy actually pivots from the front. It opens up a little bit like the McLaren Solus GT, which was actually born out of McLaren's Vision Gran Turismo car, as it happens, which is also awesome to see. That kind of progressed through the Senna, the Sabre, and into the Solus GT. But the same idea for the canopy that pivots up from the front, up towards an open position where you can climb in from either side, slide on in, close it on down, and get ready to go out and drive. That's not all though. It's the way the whole thing is presented, and as you start to look at it a little bit more, you see the openings in the negative space, you see some of the nacre ducts found around the bodywork, but you see also some other ideas and smooth lines, that smooth upper surface, even over the teardrop cabin, the way it's so gradual with its movements to obviously help act like an aerofoil to give it the best aerodynamic performance, with everything happening underneath, akin in a way to the Valkyrie. It feels quite Valkyrie-esque in my mind, from that style of the bodywork over the top and all of the aero happening underneath. Futuristic, but like I said, also realistic, and I think that's where it might tie us on to what's coming next from Ferrari. I'm going to make a call here about the LaFerrari Successor, which might be a bit controversial, so bear with me. If you've not thought about this before, it might be a shock to the system or not what you're expecting, so hold fire and let me explain all. But I've been thinking this for a couple of years, and in recent times I've also been speaking about it with a few Ferrari VIP customers to get their input. And I think the next generation Ferrari flagship hypercar is going to have this powertrain. This 3-litre twin-turbo V6 with 3 electric motors. Hear me out on this, because I love a V12 probably more than the next person, and we've become very accustomed to Ferrari's flagship cars having 12-cylinder engines. Aside from the 288 and the F40 with V8s, everything from the F50 onwards, the F50, the Enzo, LaFerrari, LaFerrari Aperta, even the Monza SP1, SP2, and also the Daytona SP3. And this is where I think Ferrari have been exceptionally clever with the introduction 4 or 5 years ago of the Icona series. The Icona series are cars that are all about captivating emotion. They grab your heartstrings, whether that's the history, the design flair, the glorious naturally aspirated engines that have been in the Monza and the Daytona, and all about the pure passion for petrol heads as opposed to purely chasing performance. Now don't get me wrong, the Daytona is not a slow car, but performance I don't think was ever number one behind those products, whereas the flagship and LaFerrari Successor needs to be a demonstration of the future, a technology tour de force, and they've created this divergence between the petrol head purist angle and the technology. We all know that we need to head into the direction of the future. That means emissions, downsizing, electrification, hybridization, smaller engines, fewer cylinders, lower capacity, etc., etc. And that's where I think Ferrari are going. Now, if you asked me 6 months ago, I thought maybe they were going to try a trick that we've seen from Mercedes-AMG by pulling an F1 engine into the road car, as AMG did with the 1.6 litre turbo V6. But with the introduction of the 499P that featured the 3 litre twin turbo V6 with hybridization, and now the arrival of the Vision Gran Turismo, I think they're giving us a little sign here. This car, the pure combustion engine component, produces over 1,000 horsepower in the Vision GT9. In the road car, presumably, give them a couple of years, they'll be able to match that. Give it the 3 electric motor configuration, as we see in the SF90 with the twin turbo V8, 1 electric motor on the back, 2 up front, as opposed to the 296 setup with just the electric motor at the back. We know how fast the 296 can accelerate. We know how even faster the SF90 can accelerate. And of course, pure electric cars are dominating that world. That is the direction for performance. So if this car is going to head down that line of ultimate lap times, ultimate performance, as opposed to ultimate passion, it's a no-brainer to go in this direction. This is a power plant that they're now suggesting can already produce 1,356 horsepower, up it a little bit more, 1,400, 1,500, perhaps a little bit lighter as well by not having the 12-cylinder engine. I think that's what's going to be going into the next car that Ferrari launch as their flagship in only a matter of years. That's not all though, because there are probably some design cues to take in from this as well. Of course, there are some elements that we see on existing models, the likes of the full straight horizontal lines from the back like on the Daytona, those running lights up front a little bit like the 499P race car, and plenty of other things around. But Ferrari have a remarkable knack of refreshing their design language every 5 or 10 years, keeping the cars as a family. You know, the Roma and the Monza, for example, are immediately distinct as cars from the same brand, but every 10 years enough changes that it keeps their lineup fresh. I suspect in these pictures that we're looking at, there are elements that we don't yet know but we'll see on future cars that Flavio and his team are designing, but bringing into this as a bit of a teaser for what's to come. Whether that's the shape of the wheel arches, whether that's that strong horizontal line running along the side of the car, perhaps some of the angles that you have up front, the shape of the nose, the shape of the lower splitter, those lines that you have going over the arches or the wing, or perhaps even some of the interior details. I have no doubt that they're teasing us with this, that they're giving us an insight without us knowing yet into the direction that they're going to go, into the direction that the hypercar is going to go. Who knows? It could even very seriously resemble this Gran Turismo concept, and that would be pretty epic. The one thing I do know is that we have absolutely no idea what it's going to be called. Ferrari's naming system seems to be very, very random and very, very hard to guess. No doubt though, when they do release the next hypercar, the next LaFerrari Successor, or the first LaFerrari Successor I should say, it's going to be a remarkable feat of engineering, and I can't wait for it. In the meantime, the VGT9 is a brilliant way for gamers and fans across the world to be able to interact with the brand, to drive the car, to enjoy it in Gran Turismo, and it's awesome that they presented a full physical car at the Gran Turismo World Finals that will also be on display, and I hope to be able to see that at some point in the future as well. That's it for now though, and a first look at the Ferrari Vision GT, their first Vision Gran Turismo product, something we've been waiting for years, but celebrating a huge anniversary for both the game and the manufacturer as well. That's it for now though. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Do let me know your thoughts and feedback on the car down below, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers!